This guy has a great arm and better hair than I do. He's Troy Aikman, the NFL and Fox Hall of Famer. Hi, Troy. How are you this morning?
Dan, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
If I said 2 months ago that the Broncos are going to be in the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning, what would have been more surprising, that they were in the Super Bowl or the fact that Peyton Manning was their quarterback going to the Super Bowl?
Good question. I think the surprising thing would be that Peyton was their quarterback. I mean, as you well know, I've known Peyton a long time, played against him in '98. We all appreciate what he has done and what his career has been all about and what he's meant to our league, quite frankly. But when Brock Osweiler came in, and I thought he looked, really good from what I was able to watch, it looked to me like that he was going to be the guy that carried it and on into the postseason. But this has been, really pretty cool for a quarterback who has done so much and yet has found himself in, I don't want to say adversity, but, really having to fight through some struggles here in what I think will be his last season. But I think it's pretty awesome that a guy of his caliber now goes into this Super Bowl and against this new age Cam Newton quarterback. And, clearly, much like Elway was, back in '98, Peyton's going to be the sentimental favorite, and rightfully so.
Chris Collinsworth yesterday said he had never seen a quarterback with this much confidence that Cam Newton has. You agree with that?
I don't know that I'd agree. It sounds good because it's the here and the now, but I've been around a lot of really confident quarterbacks over the years. I think Elway was, Marino certainly was, Joe Montana. But for a guy this young in his career, I think the thing that stood out to me going into our game in the NFC Championship game, I was asked during the week, hey, how do you think Cam will handle this stage? Because that's always the question with these quarterbacks. Can they handle the bright lights, especially this week now in the Super Bowl? And as I said then, and I'll carry it this week as well, I think this guy was born for these moments. I really do. That if you think back to college and he won the Heisman Trophy, he won a national championship, all you got to do is watch him come out for pregame warmups. This is not a guy who's shrieking from the spotlight. He loves it. And so this stage is something that he really relishes. There was no doubt in my mind that he would play well in that game. I never anticipated the game would go as it did, but he's had an amazing year. It started out as a defensive-oriented team that played great, and each week the offense has done more and more, and he's playing at obviously a very high level, and all the things that he does with his legs, Dan, the reason that this team is where they are is because of what he's been able to do throwing the football, and it's a deadly combination.
David Deal, who played offensive line for the Giants, won a couple of Super Bowls. He said he did a couple of games with Carolina, and he said what he found out was that Cam, to those inside the building, said that he was now doing his reads. He was going through progression, like he was becoming a quarterback right before their very eyes. Because there were a couple of years after his rookie season where people started to question Cam, his ability to go to the next level. That it almost crystallized this year. Did you have a moment where all of a sudden you understood it, like all the greats do, that, okay, I get it now? Was there that kind of coming to Jesus moment with playing the position?
There is those moments when the game, now you understand the game. I mean, when you first get in and you're trying to learn defenses and what it's all about, and then as you move through it, you start to understand. You know where these defenders are going to go pre-snap. You've got a good feel of your offense and where the ball is expected to go, and that's when the game, really becomes fun for a quarterback, when you're helping dictate, some of the outcomes of these plays. I think in Cam's situation, though, what David Deal was referring to, which I believe, is that I don't know that Cam really understood the importance of putting in the time. To me, the quarterback has to be the hardest working guy on the team, not necessarily on the practice field, although that wouldn't hurt. But in the meeting rooms, the amount of time you spend at the facility watching tape, it's a hard job, and just athletic ability is not enough. It might be, it certainly is in high school. It may be in college. It absolutely is not at the professional level. And I think that when I've talked to players and coaches in the organization, they marvel at how much time he is spending preparing. And throughout this season. And I think that's had as big of an impact on his play as anything else he's done.
He's Troy Aikman, the Hall of Famer, NFL on Fox analyst, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. If you're Tom Brady at halftime, do you say anything? Do you need to say anything? And if you do, who do you say something to?
If you're Tom Brady?
Yeah. About the offensive line and being beat up?
Okay. I don't know. I will tell you this, that, I had votes for All-Pro and all the awards. I voted for Cam Newton as my MVP. I voted for Tom Brady as my Offensive Player of the Year. And the reason for that is I don't think there's anyone in the league who did more with more things happening around him than Tom Brady. There were guys in and out of that lineup. The offensive line went through like 10 or 12 offensive line combinations. They were without receivers. And yet he was throwing the ball away probably 6-7 times a game just into the ground to avoid sacks, and yet he was still completing over 60% of his passes. They're still one of the top offenses in football, scoring points. I mean, it really was remarkable, and I know the frustration that comes with that, and especially for someone who is a former league MVP and a multiple Super Bowl winner and understands what it takes to win at the highest level, to then find yourself, on an offense where you're not getting protection and you don't have guys to necessarily trust in getting open on routes. We see that. We watch it, and when we watch him play, and we can see the frustration on his face. Sometimes he's criticized for being vocal. I'm glad that scrutiny wasn't there when I was playing. I was vocal every snap. It was. So I don't have a problem with that. Is he vocal on the field? Does he let his feelings be known if things aren't going the way they should? Yeah, he does. But I think he handles it in really a good way, meaning he comes off of that, and I'm sure he praises these guys and talks about a lot of the good things they're doing as well. So I think from a leadership perspective, he's been probably as good as he could possibly be.
Well, they call him a crybaby. Were you a crybaby too?
Who's they?
They're anonymous there, calling Tom a crybaby there. I know you're working with the fight against skin cancer. Tell me what you're doing.
Yeah, Dan, it's personal for me. I got diagnosed in 1998 with melanoma. It was stage 2, which means they could go in and surgically remove it, and I didn't require any further treatment. And I was approached, and I have been a number of times, and I've been reluctant to do it. But what I learned on this campaign is that there are more than one form of melanoma, and so there's more than one way to treat it. And it's important that people out there that have advanced melanoma, that they understand that. What I had is pretty easy to take care of, but when it's advanced, you're in one hell of a fight. And there's a lot of people out there that are in that fight right now, and I just encourage them to go to melanoma.justgotpersonal.com. It helps answer a lot of questions, and I think it gets them in the right direction just so that they can receive the best possible treatment. It's a tough disease, as we know, but we feel that a lot of these people may not know all the options that are out there available to them, and I said, hey, I'd be happy to be a part of it, get the word out as someone who went through it myself but was very fortunate.
It's visit melanoma.justgotpersonal.com to learn more.
Yes, sir.
Before I let you go, how much money would you be willing to pay to have Joe Buck shave that beard?
Well, I would not be surprised if there's not already a GoFundMe account that the public has put together.
Well, then there's millions.
Beard,
it's... Put me down for $1,000, Troy.
Yeah, I will. I'll put you down when I make my contribution later today.
All right. The website is melanoma.justgotpersonal.com. Troy, good to visit with you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Dan. You're the best.
All right. Troy Aikman, NFL on Fox.